Right, so your fat of choice, my fat of choice is lard, is melting in the pan. To make a roux, you need equal quantities. To make a white sauce, sorry, you need to make a roux, which is equal quantities of fat and flour. And you will find that about 1 ounce of flour and 1 ounce of fat will thicken up 1 pint of milk. Or you're probably going to go for 30 grams of flour, 30 grams of fat, and that'll thicken about half a litre of milk, ish. Most it is an ish, if I'm honest. So heat the fat up, not too high temperature, and then add the flour. We're going to use a whisk. Purists will say that we need to use a spoon, but we're not going to do that. And what we're going to do now is slowly cook it, just to get rid of the flavour of the flour. So if you don't cook out the what's called cooking out the roux, which is cooking out the flour, you're left with quite a floury taste to the white sauce. So that will just sit simply like that for 5 to 10 minutes, gently, and then I'll get rid of the flour flavour from the sauce. Right, the roux has now been cooking for long enough. It's slightly changed colour, which is commonly known as a blonde roux. You don't want to, you run the risk of, if you cook it too long or on too high heat, you end up running the risk of burning the flour. It's not a bad thing in all cases, because it gives flavour. But if you take it too far, you don't really want that kind of burnt kind of flavour. I've added the stock cube to the roux, because stock cubes are basically fat, so that'll be fine, and that'll melt easily that way. And then we're going to start adding the milk slowly at first. It'll probably start to spit and go a bit thick. This is a cardinal sin. You're not supposed to break it this way. And if it fails, you'll never see this video. So there we go, that's the first slug of milk in there. I just find adding a stock cube to a white sauce just gives it a little bit more flavour. White sauces can be a bit bland. I mean, all essentially it is thickened milk and thickened with flour, which you use a fat to stop it becoming lumpy, because the fat coats the flour, and so you get an even dispersal of flour through the sauce. So what we can do is we can turn it up slightly. You can see all that milk's been incorporated and it's starting to go thick again. So we can add the next batch, next slug of milk. The first stages are the tricky ones. You just need to be a little bit more careful. But once you've added more milk, you can add more milk and in bigger quantities. See, it's quite a difficult thing to see that. Maybe I should slightly zoom out. Maybe that's a bit better. Is that better? Probably a little bit. See how we go. So, as the milk comes up to temperature, it'll start to thicken up again. And when it's starting to become thick again, we'll add a bit more milk. As you can see, it's just starting to, on the outside, just to give that a little bit more attention on the outside so it doesn't stick or burn. The sauce has become thick again, so we can add some more milk. By all means, you can use one of those mixers where you just boil milk and add granules to make white sauce. That's fine, I'm not judging. This is just I've always got milk in the house. I've always got some kind of fat. I've always got some kind of flour. So this is what I use. But I have been known to use those packets or granules in the past, and they are fine. This happens a lot quicker when the milk's warm, because what we're doing is we're heating up the milk as we go, so it's going to take a little bit longer to make the sauce. But I don't know, it takes a little bit longer. in that time I probably could have washed up the pan that I boiled the milk up in, and it would have been quite instantaneous. I don't know, maybe I just don't like washing up, and it depends how you value your time, doesn't it? I'm going to keep the sauce quite thin. Take a bit more. I was tempted to dip my finger in then and taste it, but I won't. I will do, I'll use a spoon in a bit. So I am just doing two things at once. I'm cooking onions and doing the sauce at the same time, so my hands might just wave over there, but those onions are nearly ready. So you can see around the edges there, it's starting to bubble again, so it's starting to thicken. I might just get it all hot and then we can see how thick the sauce is. I just think this is an alternative way of making white sauce, especially if you've got limited hob space or gas burner space. You kind of need to know how to do things in different ways. If you haven't got, if all the gas burners are on and you're cooking lots of different things and you haven't got space to heat up some milk to make a white sauce, then it's nice to know that you can just do it in a pan and not heat your milk up. I think it gives you an alternative. And also, I like the idea that rules are there to be broken. I don't think. I think it's important to know how to do things lots of different ways, and as long as you get the result that you want, then there's no right or wrong way of doing things. Right, so we can see it's coming up to temperature, so it'll be boiling. You do need to be careful, because if it's gonna start catching and burning the bottom of the pan, this is the moment that it'll do it. So we'll turn that down. It's about as thick as I want it to be. I'm not going to add any more milk. I think it's about it. If I need to make a bit more, I have an alternative plan. I think that's about fine. I think that's it. Yeah, so there we go. Spoon and we'll quick taste. So that's about as thick as I want. Tastes nice, and that is how you make a white bechamel sauce without having to boil the milk beforehand. No lumps in it, nice consistency, away you go, easy peasy.